Hey guys, Kale the Quick here with episode 2 on our series on how to take a model from Hero Forge or another 3D printable model and put it into Aegis Online to use. In this episode, we're going to be doing what's called UV unwrapping so we can actually paint on our model later. Now really quickly, if all we want to do is get that done, press Shift D to duplicate the model, and we're going to turn that one off, little eye icon up over there, and we're going to right click to select our old model, and then we're going to click on Apply to apply the modifier. This will make it permanently low poly. Press Tab to go into edit mode, press A until everything is selected, spacebar, and then Smart UV Project. Press Enter, and everything should be unwrapped perfectly fine. What happened here, so it doesn't look like anything changed, is we actually, if you go down to the bottom left here, and change to UV Image Editor, you can see that we have every single triangle that made up our model, and it is now laid flat. This will let it be painted on when we set it up later with texture painting in the next video. You can skip on over to that one, but if you'd like to see how to do this far better, stay tuned and we'll get into detail on that. So to get ourselves set up for this more detailed approach to the UV unwrapping, what we're going to do is we're going to change our display here. So if you go down to the bottom left-hand corner, there's these little kind of textured areas, and your cursor turns into a little cross when you hover over them. Click on drag, and you'll be able to make a new window. And then we're going to take this one over on the left and change it into the UV Image Editor. So we've got that, and now we have our 3D view over here. We can press T or N to bring out the little panels there, give us a little bit more space. So now just press Tab to go into edit mode, bring it all up. You can see we have the Smart UV Project we had there earlier. What we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit more of a manual UV project. So this 3D model is made up of a bunch of different things. We have the individual points here, which are the vertices. We also have edges, which are the lines between them, like that. And there's also the faces, which are the flat faces made by the previous two. So what we want to do is you want to, in the bottom here, click on the little line. It'll be Edge Select. This will let us select just edges. Now I'm going to start with this vambrace over here. But before I get into detail on that, I'm going to unwrap a simpler thing so you can see what's happening here. So this is a simple cylinder. You can add one in by pressing Shift A, Mesh Cylinder. But of course, it's pretty simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the Smart UV Project on it just to see what happened there. Click OK, go into tab mode, and you can see it's kind of broken it up into the top section here and the bottom, and then of course the panels going around the side of it. So one thing we can do is we can hold Alt and then right click to actually select a whole ring of things going around. So if we select these ones down here, you can see this right here is the bottom of our circle, and you can see it's a little bit oval right there, so it didn't really work out too well. And that was the Smart UV Project trying to figure things out for us. But we're going to be a bit more manual. So if we hold Alt and select the top there and hold Space, we can actually put in a seam. So imagine if you were to cut this cylinder and lie it flat. So we're going to cut it on the top, so mark seam, and it'll have a little bit of a red outline on it. It might be difficult to see on your screen, but when you're doing this yourself, it should show up perfectly fine. Little red outline. And then we're going to do one on the bottom. We're going to mark another seam because we're going to put another cut. And then, of course, we would still have this cylinder, so we need to cut it up somewhere on the side. So again, press Space, mark seam, press Enter, and we should be good. Now, instead of the Smart UV Project, we're just going to unwrap. And you can see over here in the image editor, we have perfectly circle. You press L to select a whole island like that. Areas like there. And we can press G to move these after we select them. And see, this is laid out perfectly from side to side, so all of the detail will be even, so you won't get any weird stretching. So if we had a barrel and we wanted to have a lot of detail on top, we can actually scale this up so it takes more of the area here. So when you make a picture to put on here, you have more of that picture to put on top. Say maybe this was a barrel of whiskey or something, and you wanted to put the logo on the top, but the bottom was going to be on the ground, not very likely to be seen, so not that important, doesn't need a lot of detail. So we can change what gets detailed and what doesn't. So by putting these edges in here, we're giving hints to the algorithm on how to cut it out and lay it flat, which can give us a lot more consistent detail and just generally look better long term. So let's go back to our null and see what we can do there. So let's go try unwrapping one of these vambraces down here. So just right click to select a bit of it and then press period on the number pad to zoom in. Let's start at the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around and press Shift, right click to select these as we go around. Clicking down on the mouse wheel will rotate us around, and once you've got a whole ring selected here, press spacebar and then mark seam, and we'll get that same kind of red highlight around that area. Now let's go on the bottom. So we're separating away the vambrace from what would be the arm of the null. So select the bottom, period, on number pad, zoom, and it's a bit tough to see, so we're just going to go inside of it here. It's the joys of doing it on a computer. And it looks like we've got a whole ring going around there. Press space and mark seam again. So, cool trick, now we've marked these seams, is if we go into face select mode right next to edge select, and then hover over there and press L, you'll see it actually selects the entire area up to the seams that we marked. So let's try unwrapping it right now. Now you see it's really weird, and that's because it doesn't have a seam down the side. So now we got to make a seam down the side. So let's connect our two loopy cuts going up the side, and let's try to put our cut in an innocuous position. So we're going to do it on the inside. This vambrace, zoom in there, period, on the number pad. Mouse wheel to move around, and then get this cut going all the way up to connect those two. Mark seam. And select just that area again. Let's see what happens when we unwrap it. There we go. This looks much nicer. So over here in the image editor, press L to select that. Now obviously, we're going to put the entire null on this, and we don't need it to be that big. It's just a vambrace. So scale it down. But I actually have one of these that I cut up earlier, so let me show you what I've done and kind of talk you through my thought process there. So this is the one that I made earlier. You can see there's a lot of seams around it. So you'll see the vambraces are similar. They've got cuts going around them, but then I've got cuts on the hands. So I kind of separated it out into a palm area, then the front of the hand. And then the arm, you'll see I tried to make a cut for the arm in between it and the armor, then also a cut up the side here. And this is kind of like how your t-shirts have a seam here, so that it can be made out of pieces of flat fabric. That's a good way to think about it, how you'd cut it to make a clothing pattern. I've also got loops going around the belt here, so that's a separate thing. Belt buckle in the front. The loincloth has a front and a back section, because of course the inside wouldn't need a lot of detail, so I didn't want to have that. I wanted it to be a separate thing so I could scale it differently. The bottom of the feet as well. Now, the big thing is usually with faces, because we want the face to have more detail, so it's usually unwrapped separately. And you can see over here in my UV image editor that the face is actually quite small. So actually let's take this face and say, let's select everything here. So this is everything UV wrapped. It looks much nicer. There's still little sections here that don't look good, mostly because of the hair here, and it's just a mess. But I'm not going to put too much detail on that. I'll leave that as an exercise to the user. You can see the vambraces here, a couple other things, but we wanted to make our face bigger. So this right here should be the face. So let's select the face over on the 3D view, and we can select it over here as well. So we can press G to move it, and we can also press S to scale it. So say we wanted our face to have twice as much detail on it. We can just press S and then 2 on the number pad, and our face is now twice as big, which is generally twice as much detail. Let's go 3 times. And of course we have overlap now, which would be a problem, because now whatever these are, once we paint on them, it will also be painting on the face. As far as the computer is concerned, in the same spot. So what we need to do, press double tap A to select everything over here, and we do Control P to pack everything. So this will apply an algorithm that packs everything together, and it now has our face packed in nicely with everything, but it has that higher detail. So our face is all down here. So now when we go and paint on it, we'll have more image real estate for detail in our face, which maybe that's what we want, maybe not. So now that we've UV unwrapped it, all that we need to do is export it again and put it back in Aegis Online. Now the steps for that are the exact same as they were before. Let's just grab this window here and slide it over to the side. We just go up to File, and remember to press Control S to save this somewhere. Go up to File, Export, and then OBJ again. And just save it as a new thing or overwrite your previous one, and you'll be able to take it into Aegis Online and apply textures to it. What we're going to do in our next video is we're actually going to start texture painting onto it. And that will allow us to, just how you'd paint a miniature in real life, just put some color on there. And I'll show you the cool part about having all of these nice islands selected and cut up. So remember to tune in for that one. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified of our future uploads. I'm Kale the Quick with Easter Egg Productions. Thanks for watching. Don't die.